Abia Business Morning. We do apologize for not taking that special report on the impact of the new tax laws. Like I did say, we've been having some technical issues all morning, but for sure, Monday morning, you will have that special on the impact, projected impact of the new tax bills signed into law by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But for now, it's time to hone in on the business environment in the Eastern region. And today we have a double header of conversations addressing two key issues surrounding the Southeastern states. First, and right now, we'll be talking about the electric power business in the Southeast with special focus on Abia. And of course, our second discussion is on media patronage in the Southeast, and we'll be asking, why is everything in Lagos? I'm Anambra Commissioner, and this is the Eastern Business Report. This is the Eastern Business Report, where we look at the business ecosystem in the Eastern region. And today we'll be having two key conversations addressing two key issues, very, very important to the Southeastern states. Of course, they are electric power, with a special focus on Abia, and of course, patronage of our media establishment in the Southeast, wondering why we all have to go to Lagos. But first, we'll be talking about power. Now, as more states continue to take their destinies into their own hands, we see them setting up regulatory bodies. Recently, the Enugu State Electric Regulatory Commission started full operations, with the first act of business being the incorporation of Main Power, a subsidiary of the EEDC, to run it in the state. Now, Abia has received the power, no pun intended, from NERC, and is undertaking the same endeavor. What does this mean for the private power sector in the state? And what can you and I, common men, expect? And to shed more light on this issue, again, no pun intended, is Adinuba, former Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Anambra State, and former Special Advisor to the Minister of Power, also a management consultant, leadership scholar, and public affairs consultant. Good morning and good to have you here, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Very nice to have you, sir. So the news broke, I know, not too long ago. Governor Alex Oti inaugurated the committee for the setup of the Abia State Electric Regulatory Authority, and things seem to have moved very fast because all of a sudden, NERC is saying they've met all the conditions and has given EEDC 60 days to form EEDC subco. So, I mean, it was pretty quick. Can you you are among the players in the States. Were people caught unawares, or was this something everybody was expecting and waiting for?
Everybody has been expecting and waiting for it, to use your beautiful language. It was over a month ago that the governor of Abia State signed into law the bill creating the Abia State Electricity Regulatory Commission, and spelling out his functions and responsibilities. So what took place 2 days ago, yesterday, was just a formal transfer of the responsibilities hitherto performed in Abia State by the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, now to the Abia State Electricity Regulatory Commission. That's what has happened. So henceforth, we have, as far as Abia is concerned, decentralized regulation of the power sector. You know, the process of decentralization actually began with Enugu State. Enugu State is the first government to have full autonomy over the power sector in its territory. Then have got some other states, so now Abia. All of us were involved, and there was massive publicity for it. We testified at the, when I say we, Geometric Power, which is Nigeria's foremost integrated power consortium, made presentation to the House of Assembly, spoke to the governor, the executive arm of government. So all of us, we are carried along. I do not think it came to the public as a surprise. No. All the critical stakeholders were involved in the process of the evolution of the new law, and of course the operationalization of the new law in Abia State.
So this means that now at least for immediate activities, Abia State can bring in new players, expand what current players are doing on ground without having to go back to the federal government. So the question now is, as a player in the private sector, what does this mean now? What are the will I say opportunities that have opened themselves up, being that now the state has full autonomy over everything to do with power in the state?
Well, things should be faster. So instead of going to Abuja and joining the long queue of people who want their businesses attended to, you go to Umuahia. So it's faster. You don't have too many people. So you don't have a queue. So you get attended to first. And the caliber of people to run the Electricity Commission in Abia is quite good, made of very competent people. Besides, the governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, has demonstrated enough seriousness, enough sense of purpose, of leadership. You take the Honorable Commissioner for Power and Public Utilities, Ike Chukwumwande, not just an engineer experienced, but he used to work for GE, General Electric, which is the biggest equipment manufacturing company in the world, and also the oldest. So, and he was pretty high up in the hierarchy. So to bring him to run the affairs of public utilities, including power in Abia State, that shows only a government has had direction can do that. So I think Abia needs business, and I expect a lot of investors to move in. Actually, so many have moved in. Things are moving on in Abia, as in many other states in Nigeria.
You know, you mentioned a lot of investors moving in. We also saw the news recently that, you know, Abba Power and about 4 other companies are planning to start manufacturing meters locally. We saw that in the news. So does that mean that right now we're going to have fully localized operations from component manufacture to maybe even heavier infrastructure in Abia State? Is there a deliberate plan, you know, to extend or complete the whole power value chain within the state?
Well, there is no doubt that geometric is, in my opinion, a major driver, if not the major driver, of the development revolution in Abia State. Power is at the center of all you do. Without constant power supply, without quality power supply, and without affordable power supply, you can't go far. So geometric is doing all these: constant, quality, and affordable. As a result, a lot of big investments are going on, massive. Some of them run into billions of dollars. You may have heard of Enugu City.
Economic city, yes, I have.
So that is huge. It's actually a game changer. And with their geometric, there wouldn't be anything like Enugu City. So that's nice. But geometric, neither geometric nor Abba Power, is actually manufacturing smart meters. No. What Abba Power has done is to coordinate, to bring together 4 different producers, they call them assemblers, of smart meters. So please come here, we give you the space. Do it here, don't do it outside Abia State. Do it, we give you the premises. All the assistance you require, we give you, including electricity. And they are responding very well. We hope that in the first instance, it will create about 35,000 jobs, directly and indirectly. So once that happens, you see other people. You know, every business works in what you call ecosystem. Yeah. You have to create the environment. One thing attracts another, and the second thing attracts the third one, and the third one attracts. So it's interlinked. So when you have power being generated in Abia, distributed in Abia, in 9 of the 17 local government areas, and you're now bringing in manufacturers and assemblers, and the assembly, they will hire technicians, they will hire engineers, there will be food vendors who are not hired directly, but there will be suppliers supplying them food stuff and so on and so forth. So there will be an enhanced economic activity and everybody will be happy. So when you're not hired directly, you or somebody you know is hired indirectly. And that makes for substantial economic activity. It makes society move on. So there is considerable progress. So Abia Power is the arranger and driver.
Okay.
Yes. So these companies, 2 Nigerian, 2 Chinese. Although one of the Chinese companies is actually owned by a Nigerian who is based in China. Oh. Somebody from the southwestern part of Nigeria. The second one is owned by somebody from Abia. He used to assemble elsewhere. He's now assembling in Abia. In the premises of Geometric, or put it this way, Abia Power, whose parent company is Geometric. So, helping them, assisting them any way we can, promoting them, so to ensure that things work for the benefit of all. What is the point being in Abuja, for example, assembling smart meters used in Abia or importing from China? We're asking you, come and do it here. So we give you the building, we give you the premises. I mean, there cannot be better incentives than that. And the Abia people are happy. The government of Abia State is also happy. So that's how you create a happy society.
I mean, this is like, direct engagement by Geometric to, directly meet people who are manufacturing a component of their value chain. Are there any other plans maybe to do such things? Maybe people who produce cables, people who produce other components that might be needed? Because, I know that the smart meter that comes to the house, but there are cables, there are fuses, there are other things.
Well, this is the first step. I'm sure there will be a second step. But certain things are easier to assemble in smaller places than others. If you want to manufacture cables or wires, you require huge premises, maybe even bigger or as big as the Abia Power premises. And that entails more than assembling smart meters, which are not very big. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do, to add contents to the smart meters. We don't like the idea of you doing everything in China and importing and merely just we buy. So we're asking you, let's add value. Bring the components here, you assemble in the premises here.
So would there be any gains that will reach the end user, like maybe drop in tariffs or drop in service charges? Would there be anything passed on? Because at the end of the day, the cost of power is the cost of power, and the consistency of it is the real gain for the end user.
Well, that's a very good question. But no power generation company or power distribution company determines the tariff. The tariff is determined by NEC. Okay, now we can talk about Abia.
I was going to ask.
It becomes an order. An order is actually the NEC still have the responsibility, not the states.
Oh, so the states cannot decide to, drop or raise tariffs within the state, like.
To the best of my knowledge, I don't think so.
Because
it is called a NEC order.
Okay.
So NEC gives you the order, you implement. You don't have the right to adjust it.
Because I'm thinking, if I'm a governor, the first thing I would want to do is, give power generators and power distribution companies a lot of incentives, remove a lot of expenses from their head, levies, statutory payments, give moratoriums, refund, just so that they can implement a much lower tariff regime to encourage businesses to come into my state.
Well, yeah. Well, say if I was a governor,
yeah.
I wish you were. Maybe you will not even pay pay as you earn. Maybe nobody will even pay. They say, please don't pay any tax.
I believe that, I'm not a big believer in taxation. I'm more a believer in government equity. You're a business. I'll give you everything you need. I just want 20% revenue. Let's do business. Don't pay anything. I think the burden of taxation is, I'm not a big fan. It's a libertarian mindset, but...
Well, you're using some technical words I find very interesting. Libertarian, Well, I understand that very well. I must confess that various administrations in Abia State in the last 20 years or so have actually supported geometric power. They have given us different concessions, they have done very well. Including sometimes you want to build a power line, you may have difficulties with the owners of the land you want to use. So you have the issue of right of way. When we complain to the government will come and discuss with the people, and sometimes you pay them and so on and so forth. So various administrations in Abia State have been very useful. And the current administration has been immensely useful to geometric. And I should think to other investors, major investors in Abia State.
So at the point in time now, we've talked about the aim by economic city, but also we see other things around, like we saw recently Governor Alex Otie has compensated stakeholders of the Abia Mega Mall, which had been lying fallow for a long time. With all these projects coming up, does geometric have ready capacity, or would there need to be a scale up to handle all these new businesses coming in? Because yes, I can imagine if an aim by economic city is taking off, the speed at which meters can be deployed is greatly reduced by local manufacturers, literally at their backyard. But in terms of the actual infrastructure, would there need to be any scaling up, or does geometric already have, the capacity, for generation, last mile reticulation? Is there capacity already on ground?
Well, my answer to your double barrel question is yes. Okay, currently geometric has 3 turbines. Each of them generates 47 megawatts. Out of the 3, 2 are currently operational. The third one is operational, but not being utilized. The capacity, the demand for Abia, that is the 9 local government areas where Abia Power is operational, the combined capacity should be in the region of 90 to 100 megawatts. Not every community is getting very well right now. Effort is being made to address a lot of local issues. You have a lot of the vandalized power infrastructure. And sometimes in the places like Okwa, there was a major road construction going on some years ago. So this is where removed before geometric took over. So you have to bring them back. Now, to address your question, so there are 2 levels. One is the capacity of Abia Power. So the license for geometric is to generate 181 megawatts. So far, it can do 141 from 3 turbines. So if you do that, we still have room to expand by another 47 megawatts. So it's not being done, but I know it's a matter of time it will be done. So in other words, we can scale up, as you've said, yes, you can do that. If after that there is greater demand, then you go back to, this time it will not be NEC, you go back to the Abia State Electricity Regulatory Commission and ask for license to scale up. So you go up again. Maybe you get to 500. Why not? 1,000. Why not? Maybe the power distribution company in Enugu can reach an agreement with, together with the state governments, with geometric to please supply us powers rather than depend on the national grid, which is not, as you know very well, reliable. In 2024 alone, there were 12 nationwide power failures caused by all manner of problems. So that means an average of 1 month, one failure nationwide. That's serious. So the TCN, the Transmission Company of Nigeria, has a very old and dilapidated transmission network, poorly maintained. So it can collapse for any reason, including the fact that up to 5,000 megawatts are put on it. So they're able to withstand it. So the wheeling capacity is limited, then it collapses. So there's a lot of work to be done. So instead of waiting for it to supply you power here in Enugu, whereas you can do that from Abia, very close. So if there is a demand, then you scale up. So if we are doing up to 188 as licensed by NEC, just kind of 200 megawatts or more you have in the southeast and so on and so forth, I think it's more reliable. Even technically speaking, when you generate power from Aba and you're distributing in Enugu, then the percentage of technical losses will reduce than you generating from
Kainji or
Niger State, because they're using here in Enugu. In the process, it's the technical losses, the percentage will go up. So why not do it here? So it's in your interest. So it's not just the states in the southeast, even in the south-south. River State is the stone throw.
Yeah. Akwa Ibom is just behind Umwa here.
Why not?
Yeah.
So it's in their own interest. That's the point I'm making. In everybody's interest. Yeah.
You know, before I leave, I have to ask this question because what you've mentioned, you know, particularly about TCN and maintenance culture, I know the DG was already talking about how they've been vandalized, how many towers have been vandalized, how many, you know, cables have been vandalized, how many states have been put in darkness. I mean, we're hearing numbers in the region of 70 plus in first quarter alone, you know. So while that is worrying, the question of maintenance, I've lived in Nigeria long enough to know that maintenance culture is not exactly our strong. You are in Enugu to, you know, speak at the at COREN, the Council for Regulation for Engineering in Nigeria, and this is the body where those responsible for upholding, undertaking and setting even the standards for our maintenance culture is, you know, and it was, your talk was domiciled around the practice in the region. So my question is, do you think that we have, well, I don't think we have, but maybe I'm wrong. Do you think we have the capacity or at least structure to build the capacity for engineers in the region? Because one, the expense of having to train people who would go away very quickly or getting people from abroad to match their salary. I'm trying to imagine if it's a call to service or what Abia is paying to match General Electric salary, or maybe the man is taking a cut because he wants to serve. I know that happens a lot with people who want to serve their states. But do you think that the capacity is here, or that there's something we need to do to increase, you know, the capacity? Because we need engineers, whether it's meteorology, whether it's electrical, whether it's mechanical. We need all the types of, particularly for power generation. Do we have the capacity?
Well, we do have, but there is room for improvement. I don't think anybody can deny that. You know that there is an institution called NAPTIN, National Power Training Institute of Nigeria. It used to be only in Abuja, but it's now in all the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, plus the one in Abuja, the headquarters, so 7. It trains a lot of people, though personally, I do have difficulties with this curriculum. Curriculum currently is only for the training of technical people in the power sector. The power sector is driven not only by engineers and other technical people, but also by people who understand economics. energy economics, electricity economics. These are the people who determine the rate you pay for electricity consumption. So currently, Nigerians pay 209 naira per kilowatt hour for those who are on band A. Those people on band B, band C, and so on and so on, pay lower. So who determines the cost of producing power, whether it's from gas-fired plants or hydroelectricity, and so on and so forth? So it's people with background in economics and business administration. They are not being trained at NAPTIN. NAPTIN focuses only on technical people. And that, to me, is a serious deficiency that has to be addressed. So currently, if you want to work for NEC or any of the states' electricity regulatory commissions, your manpower cannot obtain your manpower from NAPTIN. So you have to go to where will you get the people with the experience, the expertise? And that's extremely important. So, there is room for improvement, as I've said. Trading has suffered in the power sector in the last couple of years. Before, it used to be better. If you were trained as an engineer in any university anywhere in the world, you were hired in Nepal, as it was called in those days. First of all, you go to the training school in Lagos, spend some time there, then you go to Kainji for that training and back to Lagos. So the whole, you spend 2 years training. After getting your degree or HND as an engineer. So you come out, you are trained in all the 3 segments: generation, transmission, and distribution. Then you join the group where you want to specialize in. But at least you must have a little knowledge of each of these segments. Right now, the private investors who bought the Gencos and Discos, they don't even have the money to train. Some have actually sacked those earning more than 100,000 naira a month. That was before, to be able, the people who actually, you and I know very well, that purchased many of these companies don't have the capacity, neither financial capacity or technical capacity to run the business. So right now, most discos are distressed. They are not credible water. It's quite unfortunate. So we require a lot of skilled manpower across the value chain.
I totally agree with that. Thank you so much for that very deep insight. You know, one more thing I would even suggest on their curriculum, if I had my way, is a special and industry specialized communications curriculum, because the people who interface with the public and with the businesses need to be able to engage properly. We've had issues where, you know, I mean, one of the most, let's say, people that people revile is the marketer who comes with the team in the white bus from any disco. There is nobody, I think, more hated on the streets of Nigeria. But thank you so much for being on this one, sir.
But let me even suggest one area. I think that should be part of the curriculum in NAPTIN. The law. Whether you're an engineer, or an economist, or a business administrator in the power sector, you have to understand one or two things about different laws and regulations guiding the power sector in Nigeria. You are not supposed to get cut off without warning. But you can see disco managers doing it. They don't realize that the end users have rights. So you don't just cut off. There are processes provided by the law and different regulations in the country. So they don't even know. So they do as they like, and the customer is shortchanged. That is not right. That's one good thing Abia Power has tried to do, informing all its managers and even field officers about the laws and rules and regulations. And that is why Abia Power remains the only disco that in the last 2 years has not been penalized for violating any law or any rule determined by NEC. So I think Abia Power and Geometric, they remain models.
I mean, it's the story of Nigeria. The models will always come from the southeast. But
That's very good.
but thank you so much for being here this morning. I'm sure there'll be further conversations on this. I'm sure once the manufacturer of smart meters take off, I'll be there in Abia myself.
Oh, that'd be great. I can't wait to.
Well, I'll be there. I'll be there to see it live. I'm always a big, a big fan of anything that is moving Nigeria from where we are to where we all hope to be. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thanks so much.
We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, it's the turn of the media in the region to go under the spotlight. I will be talking with Dr. Sami Ejionajufo, Dean, School of Communications and Media Studies, Learn to Live Business School, UK, seasoned media administrator and brand strategist. He'll be here to tell us why Eastern media suffers low patronage from advertisers and why everybody has to go to Lagos cap in hand. The Eastern Business Reports will be right back.